All right, gang, my name is Kevin Smith. With me is my partner, Damian Loth, and we're here to talk about digital magazine publishing for entrepreneurs and for content creators. We are a company that specializes in helping people that are brand new to the concept of magazine publishing start magazines and turn them into recurring revenue machines. These are a dozen or so titles that have been on a platform for various lengths of time. I just want to just bring this up so you can see that we're not talking about some cheesy easy, and we're talking about real magazines. We're not talking about something that you're going to feel like, oh, I don't know if I can, take this. It doesn't look good. We're talking about things that would look perfectly at home on an airport newsstand. And that's the type of quality deliverable that we're talking about so that you know going in that this is something that you're going to be proud of. So as a company, the company's been around since 2013. And I say that as not joking because it's one of those things that so often when we come to webinars, things like that, people are going, yeah, but this is some new. No, what we're playing in is sort of that place that has been hiding in plain sight the entire time, and a place where it may make sense for all of us attending the call here for you guys to start playing in that sandbox too. So the system that you guys are going to see today, we started teaching. We've been doing this before 2017, but we started teaching others how to do it in 2017. Here's some highlights of it. Lots of magazines in our platform with multiple years running and so forth, including many that have more than 100 issues. One individual in the platform went from solopreneur to now has offices on 2 continents and a staff of over 50 people. Had lots of spin-off businesses come from magazine publishers in our platform, calendars, coffee table books, print versions of magazines, 6-figure consulting gigs that have come from it, and 6- and 7-figure exits. So what we're talking about here with these 5 magazines, just picked sort of at random as we're putting this together, is these are the things that we're going to be working towards, is this kind of showcasing of what you can do with a magazine versus something that looks like a blog or what have you. And why we're here, as in addition to, look, here's what's possible, these types of beautiful things. Why you're here is to see how you can make more money from your content and doing it by publishing a magazine. So here's what we're going to be talking about today. Number 1, how to build a list faster, more affordably, and more engaged, how to source content for free, and what a recurring income stream can look like for a magazine owner. So we are starting with list building because it is the most important thing you can do when you're selling anything online, irrespective of the topic or niche. Lists and email broadcasts are 10 out of 10 consistently outperforming social media, PPC spends, and every other channel. I will go head to head. I've personally sent over 1 billion emails in my life. No exaggeration there. I'll go head to head and put email against any other channel out there. The reason why we start with it is because we can do it more affordably, we can do it faster and more easily. The downside of the traditional ways of trying to build a list are it's hard. It often comes with a big ad spend. You got to pour money into the front end to build an email list. And you got this sort of chicken and the egg thing where you've got organic growth that's possible in your email list, but holy cow, it takes a long time. Not here, not as a magazine publisher using the system you're going to see today. So what we're talking about is a system that is, I've been doing internet marketing since 1998. This is the only method that I know of that works at scale. It's the only method that I know of where the costs stay flat, literally zero. The only cost really you have is how much it costs for you to send the emails. And this is a system where everybody wins. And it may sound a little bit weird to hear these guys talking about magazine publishing and going, why are we starting with email? Why are you talking about this first? And it's because when you see the system we're about to unfold, you're going to go, oh, I understand now how all of this stuff dovetails together. So hang with me. I
This is a
promise going to unpack
foundational
this.
piece.
Yes. So here is the premise behind our method. I promised in the email sequence leading up to this that we're going to dive straight into the good stuff right away. We're 5 minutes into this, and here we are unveiling the secret recipe. So here it is. Step 1 is you're going to contact the B listers and C listers in your space. We're going to get into the hows and wherefores in a second. We're going to be offering the magazine treatment of existing content. They're going to provide content that they've already got sitting on a shelf and then go brag about it. Their followers, their fans are going to get something special. Fans are going to opt into your list to get access to their content where their star is featured. Now, invariably, at this point, people are crossing their arms and going, okay, does this really work? Absolutely, it works. We've been doing this since 2017, actually teaching it since 2017. And I'm going to showcase now just this particular magazine called Wildlife Photographic. Wildlife Photographic has been built entirely with this method. And now the magazine gets inbound content without solicitation. So the point is that
international award-winning photographers, and this is a magazine that's been, I think it's now in its 10th year.
Maybe even 11th year. Yeah.
Right.
So the point, and this is a magazine that was started by somebody that had never published a magazine before, literally 0 pages of magazine publishing experience. And this is a magazine that will look at home on the airport newsstand and that goes, you know, at least in some mind share, goes head to head with National Geo, rides on Madcast rails. So here's why this system works. How many times have you been featured in a magazine? You as an individual, you as a business, what have you. And it is the same for everybody. Magazines have this magical way of boosting stature, authority, credibility, even for celebs. And they're also one of the best showcases of writers' work. So you look at podcasts, YouTube or TikTok, newspapers, cable TV shows, every other mechanism of media out there, and there's nothing out there that gets framed and hung on office walls and sent out as tear sheets and that people brag about for years to come, like magazines. Because magazines, for all of us societally, they have this sort of elevated position. Everybody knows what it means to be featured in a magazine. Everybody understands that there's this, oh, there's this endorsement. Magazines aren't putting crappy products and crappy stories in their pages. That's why this works. It's this elevated positioning that we all know as society that, you know what, nobody's getting excited about being featured in a blog, not really. Whereas you talk about getting featured in a magazine, okay, now I'm excited about that. And the next part of this, in are people actually going to do this, is this. How can thought leaders, any space out there, how can thought leaders lead if nobody reads their thoughts? As publisher, you get to be the one that connects those thought leaders, those influencers, as much as I dislike that term, those folks to an expanded audience. And that's why this works. You are creating value. That is something you can exchange. You create value, you share this value and exchange it. So that then is how you build a list. That's how you build one faster, more engaged, cheaper than any other way that I know of. And we'll go into details here in a second. And that's also why hearing yes as a magazine publisher becomes the norm. Now, going to go showcase 4 different publications here in different topic areas. Reason I want to call these out is because we want to show that this is not a one-trick pony. This is something that works across all kinds of different market audiences and different thought spaces and what have you. So first, business.
And sometimes the more obscure niches are actually some of the strongest ones too.
Let's take acquisition aficionado. Started by Len Wright, and everybody that Len talked to about starting a business magazine told me he was out of his gourd and said, what are you doing? You can't start a business magazine. There's Forbes, there's Bloomberg, there's Business Week. You're going to get crushed. And he started a business magazine anyway, focusing on the acquisition space. And now he's in, what, 2.5 years into this?
Absolutely.
And has had all kinds of spin-off businesses we'll get into later. Kara came into the platform because there were no resin magazines, and she's a resin artist, was super enthusiastic. Looking around, she's going, oh, there's all this great content out here, but nobody's really acting as curator. Everybody's just creating their own content, and there's nobody to shine a spotlight. Tiny House, created by Kent Griswold. Kent's been in the platform for over a decade, has over 120 magazines in this, specifically talking about the tiny house niche. And last featured magazine to bring up is the one we were just talking about, that's Wildlife Photographic, another publication that's been in the platform for a decade. All right, now let's talk about scaling. A minute ago, we were talking about conceptually on how to build a list with our system. Magazines, though, have a dozen articles. Let's call it 10. They each go to their fans. Each of the folks that are in here contributing these 10 articles, they're all going to go to their fans or followers with something like this, be it on social, be it on email broadcast, doesn't matter. They're going out to their fans saying, hey, so I did a thing. And this, by the way, is the verbatim email template. People slice, dice it, and puree it, make it their own. This is the email template. We're not holding stuff back here. So, hey, so I did a thing. I get featured in a magazine in our space. I've worked a deal with the publisher for you to get free access to the issue with my article. Free, truly free, no credit card, no strings. Here's the link. Now, you don't have to make it free. You can charge for it, put a discount, whatever. Conceptually, what's happening is they're sending this broadcast email to their tribe bragging about being featured. So what happens next is the magic. That broadcast email goes out, that social media post goes up, the link gets clicked. They fill in the name and email on the lander, they get the magazine. You get that reader's contact info. So what has just happened is you have given so much value to a thought leader in your space that they gave you their content and then bragged about it. Their tribe, somebody that's already a trusted authority in the space, their tribe then went from being theirs and their customers to being yours too. And everybody won. It's a little bit like an opening band. We've all gone to rock shows, pop concerts, that kind of thing. And most headliners, most people are there to see the headliners. That's the thing. The headliners are in the back, getting ready while there's an opening act. Maybe it's a comedian, maybe it's another band. It doesn't matter. But what happens is, along the way, many of the fans who are here for the headline become fans of the opening act too. It's the same sort of concept, except at scale. So let's zoom out. So let's say, going back to the concept that we have 10 different articles here from 10 different contributors. Let's say we've got Susan. She's got a tiny audience. We've got Dave, a little bit bigger, and Tori and Lamont and Kim and Theo and so on. And across all of these different people, illustratively, we end up with a total reach, a committed reach of 100,000 people. Now, I submit to you this question. How else could you get in touch with this many people with the endorsement of all these different people who are already players in the space that you're getting into also, or perhaps you're already in? How many other vehicles are there where you can have this kind of reach with $0 outlaid? So,
and the key here is that you're being introduced to all of your contributors' individual audiences with a very warm introduction and endorsement, which
right.
magnifies the impact of that introduction tenfold.
And what they've just said, as we looked at a second ago, is, hey, so I did a thing. They're going out making that introduction, but they're bragging about it. Hey, I was featured in a publication. So it's a very different kettle of fish than you would have perhaps if you were going into an audience cold, when you're going and buying traffic. So now let's say that you're the big 800-pound gorilla, the Kim of this audience, of these contributors rather. Kim's got 20,000 people. She's bringing a fifth of the value of your total reach. Okay, but Kim doesn't necessarily have overlap with Susan or Dave or Tori or Lamont or any of these other folks. So yes, Kim's reach going in is already big. And even still, she has additional reach that she doesn't have necessarily, because there isn't always overlap. Often there's no overlap. Oh, I didn't know about Theo Johnson. No idea he was an expert in this too. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love what he's doing over here. And that is where readers from one tribe are being exposed to other contributors' content too. So let's look at the next part of this, nurturing relationships with these readers. We're not talking about clubbing people over the head to buy. We are not sending email blasts. In the academy that we're going to talk about here that you have access to when you become a member, in the academy, we expressly forbid the term email blasting because it just diminishes and degrades the value of what we're talking about building, which is real relationships with readers. And when we have these real relationships, the level of engagement and trust and everything just goes up, goes through the roof because there's no insincerity. It's real. You're somebody that somebody now trusts. You've been endorsed by Theo or Kim or whomever, and you've come into the community and accelerated your position because you're a magazine publisher.
And as
So
an indie magazine publisher, you actually fast track the deepening of relationships because guess what? You ask for people to respond to the emails that you send out and you answer them. You actually read them and you answer them. Try doing that at Forbes or Business Week or any one of these gigantic magazines. This is the difference. As an indie publication, you really become the centerpiece of your community, which is your niche within a larger market.
and here's the thing. What you're going to see in a second here is the scale of this stuff. You're going, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to read all these? The scale of things for an indie publisher is so different from a Vogue or GQ or Car and Driver magazine that when you see this, it's all going to be, oh, I get it now. Okay, so let's talk about bringing an offer to your list now. And as we're doing that, I want to talk about one launch story. So this was a husband-wife team. They were enthusiasts in a particular niche. And the first conversation he and I had was, okay, look, I'm a financial planner. She's an artist, my wife. So basically, I'm a nerd and she's a cool, a cool hip artist. And we know nothing about magazine publishing. So just think of this as your hands and let's see what we can do. Let's go do this. So their niche was adjacent to places where a lot of publications were already out there, but they had this particular idea because nobody was dedicated to the topic. So they saw an opportunity. They said, look, some magazines are going to touch on it once or twice a year. We're going to do a whole magazine about it. That opportunity, following our blueprint, pre-launched to about 3,000 people on their email broadcast list. So they nurtured the folks leading into, they said, hey, we're doing this publication. It's coming out soon. All the contributors and so forth got people enthused, got people into the pre-launch list. Let's say round numbers, it was about 3,000 people and a whopping nearly 65% of people bought. Now, there's no question that is way off the charts. And I don't want to imply that, oh my gosh, you come in, everybody's going to have 65% conversion rates, anything like that. They got lucky. They nailed the niche. They executed absolutely masterfully. People come into the platform and do better than this. People come into the platform and do worse than this. Some people come into the platform and do nothing. This is just one of those things that I like to show, though, because it's a little bit of a demonstration of what can happen as a magazine owner. So
it reflects some of the magic that can catch fire when you're launching an indie magazine to a clearly defined target audience that's hungry for the content. It's extremely difficult to get that kind of engagement launching a social media channel, launching a blog. It's nigh on impossible. So these are extraordinary results for a brand new media property.
now let's talk about A-listers. You may, if you're paying attention, you may notice that our strategy, our system is entirely built upon the B listers, the C listers. We're
Kevin,
not
just before
going,
you go on, this is something that is worth taking notes on, because this concept can be applied outside of the Magcast blueprint. It's an extremely powerful way to build a new project. And I just wanted to get that in, Kevin, before you go on
yeah.
and reveal it.
And you're right. What we're talking about right here is a concept that is counterintuitive. That's what we like to do so often, is go, everybody else over here is talking about squares and cubes and round pegs and square holes and things like that. And we're over here talking about stripes. This is that kind of thing because it works. So the concept behind the system is we go to the B and C lister first. You can take this same sort of concept outside of magazine publishing, though. We are never going to contact the A-listers early in any launch, even if you know them personally, even if they are your next door neighbor that loves you and has known you for 25 years. A-listers will get invited after there's already enthusiasm for your magazine. Now, before I go on, I just want to tell a real story that happened with our first publication ever. Have a long time friend, business mentor. I've probably known him at this point, gosh, 20 years, something like that. So I figure this was about 10 years ago. We'd definitely known each other a long time. Went to Florida, and this individual knew what I was working on. I was working on publishing a new magazine. And he says, "Okay, let me see this magazine you've been working on, Kevin. Let's go." So I get out my iPad sort of sheepishly. And this is the first time that I've really showed the magazine to somebody in this person's status area. This is a guy
This is
who's
the first issue of the first magazine you've ever published.
ever. And this is a guy that has multiple 7, 8-figure business sales. He's that guy in business. So I take out my iPad, I put it across the dinner table to him. He rips it out of my hands and he says, "Holy shit, Kevin, this is a real magazine you guys have built. This is incredible. I had no idea." In like that, because I hadn't gone to him first, the whole dynamic changed. I wasn't now going to him asking for a favor. I was going to him with him pulling in and ripping the thing out of my hands.
Right.
So why this works is because of these two dynamics. Number one, you realize you're going places whether or not the A-lister is involved. Their participation is not required. I already had an army of enthusiasts behind me for this launch. Now, the last thing, and what you realize, is also that the A-lister isn't being leveraged for your success. All of this stuff makes you more desirable to them. Flip it. While you realize it, guess what? They realize it too. They
Absolutely.
realize you're going places irrespective of their involvement. They ain't required, and you're not using them for success.
And A-listers are very attuned to listening, reading between the lines when projects are brought up to them, because they are used to people trying to hitch their wagons to the A-lister train. So by not relying on them, by not counting on them for your success, you flip a psychological switch, and now they are more likely to pursue you. As crazy as that sounds, it's absolute fact.
Yeah, and you know what? You just sort of disengage and look at this rationally, and you think of it as, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, if somebody's already got stuff going on, they're the cool kids, and I want to participate. And it's the same for all of us. Everybody wants to be drawn to things and not have things shoved at them. Nobody likes to be sold to. Everybody likes to buy, though. Same concept here for the A-lister. So my question to you now that you've seen the basics of our system and sort of how the gears turn here, Is there any better list than the one you have built for free via these types of warm intros? I'm going to bet the answer is no.
It's hard to come up with one that is better than that. It really is.
Okay, so now the next question is, what would you do with your list? You've had the secret sauce revealed here. What are you going to do with yours? So let's look at the next part, the monetization. I'm going to just gloss over this. We will unpack this in more detail in a second. So what's happening here is direct monetization, by which I mean you are now selling an endorsement from somebody that your audience already trusts. So rather than you now being pitched and sold to and what have you, it's, oh, this person's coming into the room too. Okay, well, they've got the endorsement of Kim and Theo and so on. Okay, all right, completely changes the dynamic. And that leads to ascension marketing and so many different ways you can start doing ascension marketing. What's happening is paying subscribers, paying readers, they're now primed to buy other products from you because they trust you. I'm talking about workshops, back-end members areas, training series, destination travel workshops, books, calendars, and so much more. These are the types of things that when it comes to an indie magazine using our platform, these are the kinds of things that we're teaching and that our publishers are using that are so far outside of the mind space of what you think is the revenue vehicle that a magazine is using. Let me give you guys a real world example. This happened earlier this year.
A couple of quick points, Kevin, before you dive into that. These workshops and so forth, we haven't really given any sort of value here, but there are magazines that sell workshops or travel mentor photography programs that cost tens of thousands of dollars. Because when you're going to fly to Alaska, stay in a private property with a biologist, professional photographer, and be taken around to all of the different bear habitats, you pay top dollar for that. And the magazine who introduces it and makes it all possible gets a very healthy commission for doing so. So we're not talking necessarily about a $27 online workshop, despite
But those
the
are
fact
great.
that there are a million of those that are being promoted also. But it's not only capped at the low dollar figure is the point that I wanted to make. And then the second point was that you don't have to be the owner of the workshop. You don't have to own these back-end offers. You share in the revenue because you facilitate the sale.
And that's exactly the example I was going to give. So this happened earlier this year. One of the publications in our platform that I've been, as we do for all of our members, we were doing it in one of the coaching sessions, and we talked about putting together a workshop. And they pushed back and said, look, we don't have the material, so on and so on. I said, so great. Who are the top educators in this space? Well, such and such is number one. Everybody loves this person. I said, great, go get in touch with them. Okay. So they did. And the gist of the pitch was this. If we were to put a bunch of people into a Zoom room for a 2-day webinar that you were to lead, would you be interested in splitting the revenue with me 50-50? So I'll put all the butts in the seats. I'll pay you half of the revenue and you teach the course. We want to do a 2-day thing. So you bring in any other educators that you feel would be, that you want on your bench that are the other A-list educators. Absolutely, let's do this. So they sold 300 people a $500 per seat workshop. It was 2-day Zoom. So you do the math, $300 per entry. I'm sorry, 300 people at $500 per entry. They took 250 of it. Their entire involvement was the email broadcasting. They walked in the first day into the Zoom session and said, hey, everybody, we're so glad you're here. You're in great hands with such and such. We've got an absolutely magnificent session lined up for you over the next 2 days. And they left. When the webinar was done, And everybody was, oh my gosh, this has been fantastic. Publisher came back into the room and said, hey guys, thanks so much for being here. We've got a survey we're going to send. We want you guys to please participate in it. We'll throw in some bonus for you if you tell us what you thought of the workshop. So their whole involvement, front end and back end, and actual time commitment was about 10 minutes. So happened this year. In fact, it was just, I think, March that they did this workshop. So the point of all this is that there's so much more to what you can do as an indie magazine publisher with nurturing these relationships and then building long-term ascension marketing funnels and really deep revenue things that you can go and tap into again and again and again. And last thing on this, so of the folks that they surveyed, and remember, this is not 10 people, it's statistically significant at 300 folks. What they found out is that roughly 4 or 5%, I don't remember the exact number, 4 or 5% of those folks are now interested in going to a $5,000 in-person event. So this is way more than just selling somebody a magazine subscription, because you're doing this through list building and nurturing real relationships. So,
and here's the final little point I'd like to add to that. You'll notice that so much of our approach is through value exchanging, creating immense value in a magazine and then leveraging that to exchange it with others where they get enormous value. The best part about providing these Ascension back-end products, courses, seminars, is you're looking after your audience to the maximum degree, because in every niche out there, there is between 8 and 10% of people who want to go all in. I'm subscribing to the magazine. I'm never going to quit. What workshops are there? Can I hire one of the seminar leaders just to coach me? That's very expensive. How much? So by having the ascension, and by ascension, it generally means it becomes more in-depth and more
expensive,
personal and more expensive. So by having that there, you're able to look after people who want to go all the way, and it becomes very lucrative for your magazine business.
All right, next thing we're going to ask and answer is the question of, what if you've got an idea rattling around now of a magazine topic and it is different from your current focus? Well, it's fine. Here's why. People are multifaceted. Psychographics matter much more than matchy match. Let me give you a real world example. My wife was a yoga instructor in San Diego, and she was also a med chemist, literally a drug inventor in a lab with test tubes, doing drug research, inventing medicine. So you think about this and you go, wait a minute, this is a yoga instructor and a drug inventor? What? And that's the thing with most of us. Those of us that have greater than room temperature IQs tend to be folks that have a lot of different interests. Her boss, in fact, was a world-renowned surfer. So that's why it's important to realize, look, this doesn't have to be an exact matchy match with what you've got rattling in the brain and what you're doing today. Let's look at a golf magazine. You are just as likely today in a golf magazine to find ads for web servers, hosting, financial services, travel as golf products. And that's because that's what the readers are into. And we have a mix of interests as sort of interesting people participating in society today. And that's where this makes sense for you, irrespective of your niche. Okay, I promise we're going to get to the revenue thing. We will. And we're going to first circle into the content part. It'll make sense in a second. You may have noticed here that you are not writing all of the content. Nowhere have we suggested that you're going to go and sell your soul to the AI devils. What we're doing is working with collaborators, working with contributors, and you are getting paid for other people's content. That is the beautiful part, and that it's all happening ethically. They're shining their spotlights onto your magazine, and you're shining the magazine spotlight back onto them. And the greatest part of this is that you're no longer a one-trick pony. You have built in this magazine a business that has a house list where contributors are doing the heavy lifting really and providing the content. They're providing baked in marketing for you where the readers that you're going to be attracting into your magazine they're already pre-vetted. There's multiple monetization channels and multiple income streams. All of this plus a recurring revenue component through the subscriptions. This is in this legacy business. This is in a business that nobody's talking about. Everybody's talking about, oh, AI this, AI that, and oh, SEO and YouTube and TikTok. And this isn't a fad. This is an industry that's been around for hundreds of years and will be around for hundreds of years because it works.
And has, for the indie publisher, people just like us who've got ideas for a magazine that can serve a very distinct, identifiable niche market, it's the strategy that's been hiding in plain sight for 100 years.
More than, easily more than.
You know, magazines like Time Magazine started with almost an identical content approach as we're suggesting now for Magcast. This is time tested and proven.
So we're going to go now and dive into the revenue component with more depth. The thing that we're going to train our attention on is subscriptions. Yes, doing these back-end offers, those kinds of things are magnificent, and they're also not the main thing that people think about when you think about revenue streams for magazines. So let's talk about the ones that everybody thinks of, subscriptions. These can be far bigger and more lucrative than you're probably thinking. So what we are going to start with is not the crazy, well, you're going to make $1 million. We're not those guys. So what we want to talk about, and we'll scale this. What we're talking about is a whopping 10 subscribers coming into your publication every quarter. That's it. What those 10 quarterly subscribers look like over the course of a year when you have 70% retention. 10 subscribers become 17, become 29, become 49, even if you're only retaining 70% of those subscribers. So at the end of that year, you have 105 subscribers, and congratulations, you've brought in over $1,000 on 10, adding 10 a quarter. We're not talking about ridiculous numbers. And the reason why we bring this up is we want to look at things rationally. Does this for you pass a smell test? Okay, so let's go and scale this a little bit and talk about a couple of dozen subscribers. 25 subscribers being added a quarter. Now, I'm not talking about a day. I'm literally talking about adding 25 subscribers a quarter.
Every 3 months.
Every 3 months. So adding 25 subscribers a quarter then looks like about 265 folks at the end of the year. Okay, that's now $2,600. This is a different scale. I mentioned earlier that you think about Car and Driver or Vogue or GQ, and they've got these enormous businesses. And yet here is an indie publisher on 265 folks, that's $2,500. Okay, let's go and turn it up another notch. Okay, what does 50 quarterly subscribers being added look like? Well, that's over 5K. Okay, what does 100 look like? That's over 10K. And we're not talking about thousands. What we're talking about, it's like, oh my God, I've got to have 100,000 people coming to my blog in order to really make any money. We're not talking about those kinds of numbers. So when we're talking about now having a total reach of 100,000 people through your contributors, does it pass the smell test that you might be able to do a couple of dozen sales? Does that seem rational and reasonable? So this isn't one of those things where, 5 people get 5 people and 5 more. No, we just want you to look at this and say, okay, this isn't a $99 product. It's $10 a quarter. And yeah, you know what? 100 people isn't these crazy pie in the sky type numbers. Okay, so all we're going to do now is make a tweak. Here we were at 70% retention. Now let's make a tweak where the magazine becomes more desirable to keep. That tiny tweak on your existing customers takes you from 10,500 now to over 11, just making that tweak. So what happens now if we go and ratchet it up? We're now going to go to a thousand quarterly subscribers. This ain't car and driver. This isn't a system where you're talking about, oh my gosh, I've got to have these massive numbers of input in order to actually affect the bottom line. This is one of those things where you have reasonable controls in working with these collaborators and seeing what kind of reach, what kind of projections can you get in expecting that this is what's going to be going out there in the promotional marketing. And remember, all of that marketing dollar that you would have to spend in so many other channels, or hope and pray that you hit something viral and oh my gosh, it goes, and it's a one-time thing. We're talking about a system that's repeatable, where you can then go and tap into these collaborators and go and work with them again, go and work with other collaborators. And here are the folks that we had in the last issue.
And each issue, you're going in front of a whole new audience of your contributors' followers.
And you know what? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, keep going.
So the thing I just want to bring everybody's attention to really quickly is this. I'm not making any crazy promises here. I'm not saying everybody's going to come here and make 100 grand or 100 million or any number in between. People come into our platform and absolutely destroy it, just go off the charts. We had a conversation with a woman in one of our sort of community meetings. I guess this has been about a year ago. I didn't know who this person was. And she says to me, Kevin, I just want to thank you guys because I just reached 10,000 subscribers. And I would have never been able to do this without you guys. This is the best money I've ever spent in my life. And I'm going, cool, you got 10,000 subscribers. I have no idea who you are. And it just was one of those awesome little moments of poignancy in owning the platform and as a publisher going, okay, that's really cool that you were able to do this with these tools. So we show this as sales made as a quarterly publisher, where the months these sales are happening the months the magazine is publishing. So it's a quarterly magazine. This isn't a magazine that is going out humping it every month, having to put content together 4 times a year in this example we just showed. Now, before we go on, I want to give you guys a real look behind the scenes. So this screenshot was taken this morning. This is a magazine new to the platform, and this is what they have done in the first 3 months. So July, obviously, we're about halfway through the month of July. I have no idea what other promos and things they may have lined up. It was just really cool to pop in here and go, oh, all right, you guys are really on the way already. And here it is. Whatever, I can't add this up fast enough here. 25, 35, roughly 3,500 bucks they've done. And this is just in our store. This doesn't count sales that they made through the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. I have no idea. I have no visibility unless they tell me. I don't know. So real world, your mileage may vary. I'm not making any promises that everybody's going to come in and do these kinds of numbers. You may do even better. You may come in and do nothing. So let's get back to the topic at hand. Yes, in this example here, we're only talking about sales that are happening during the months the publication is published, but people can subscribe, people can buy 365 days a year. And we haven't even looked at the other revenue streams like the workshops and back issues and things like that, sponsored content. I told the story in the lead up to this workshop, and that is of a guy named Ken who bought 38 back issues of one particular publication over the course of, what was, I don't remember, a couple of months. And I don't know what it was. This particular magazine was scratching this guy's itch, and he was coming in every Saturday, every Sunday, buying 3 or 4 issues. And this went on for weeks. We're laughing about it going, dude, this guy really loves this magazine. This is great. How many bloggers would have the opportunity to do that? And that same content, identically framed in the concept of a magazine, now had this elevated status and positioning, and old Ken was eating it up as fast as he could put his credit card in.
And actually,
So
just touched on what is another part of the magic of indie magazines. 90+% of the content that you're going to showcase in your magazine exists on blogs now that nobody gets paid for. When
Or,
we showcase it in a beautiful magazine layout, now people not only will, they expect to pay for that content. It's a totally different mindset.
yeah, it's funny you bring this up. I had a conversation with somebody not too long ago where we're talking about the concept of magazine publishing and what have you, and all of a sudden I could see the light bulb went off, and she said, "Oh, that's how I get people to pay me for my content." Like, yes, there you go, and you get them to pay you for other people's content too.
Because
So
we've talked about the fact that you are not required at all to have to write any articles. However, if you are a writer and you have your own content, you're absolutely going to contribute to your own magazine. That makes perfect sense. And guess what? If you've not published much of your content before, you're going to be alongside some of the luminaries in your marketplace. So guess what? You are considered a peer, and in some people's minds, you're going to be considered superior to the established thought leaders. Why? Because you're the owner of the magazine that's dedicated to resin arts and crafts, or to
calligraphy,
mobile phone photography, or calligraphy, or buying small businesses.
right? I just want to tell a really quick story on the notion of publications selling things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to go. And where this particular person came into this was as a blogger, and they came in pivoting and getting people to pay them for content, and pretty quickly they were getting people to buy print calendars from them. And all of this came about through this sort of, they just started out as a blogger, and you guys get the idea, and now they're successfully selling print calendars. And it wasn't a place that really you would have expected them to be making money. But in any event, so what our renewal stats show, you're talking about across a significant number of sales, is somewhere between 65 and 80% typically renew each period. Your readers may not renew as with the same percentage. They may do even better. But the point is that, gosh, wouldn't it be nice for once to be the owner and not an earner, where you're going out and clocking in every day, or going into the office for your salary, and where instead you're owning the publication, where you're getting to earn revenue irrespective of how many hours you put in at the desk. Okay, so what I'm getting at here with these renewals is that they tend to happen with regularity. They tend to happen with really good consistency. And this is not a hyperbolic statement. Some of the publishers in our platform have readers that have been with them for 6, 7, 8 years, even longer. And I look at that with real marvel, and I go, you know what? This is a real business. And that's how you go all the way from starting with an idea to building a recurring revenue stream that lets you sell other products to an audience you own. My question now is, what would that mean for you? What would that type of stream of steady income mean? And how much less stress would you have as an entrepreneur, as a content creator, if, as we saw with this publisher, you're getting paid month after month by Apple, by Google, by others? And that is what is possible as a magazine owner. Here's the key. You are creating more than a product. You're creating more than an email list. You're creating more than this recurring revenue stream through the subscription income. You're creating more than just this media channel, if you will, that you own. You're creating all of this stuff in one entity. It does it all, your magazine business. And how would this type of thing affect your work as a writer, as a content creator, as an entrepreneur? If you could do the work once, but benefit from all these things. And that's what our system is. That's what Magcast is. It's a way to create something real that doesn't require selling your soul or using AI generated garbage. And if you want to see how this works and what exactly is Magcast, we are a one-of-a-kind digital magazine publishing platform that's 10 years in business, that really focuses on helping the little guy, the new publisher. We have flat rate pricing for publishers. You'll see that in a second. And as to the notion of, gosh, are people actually reading digital magazines? Does this really work? Our system is right now serving, and has for ages, serving about 1.5 people per second are reading content based atop our platform. So this is not, oh gosh, yay, there are 100 readers using this a day. Where's this? This is 1.5 people a second.
What was the page count? We were in the system the other day, and I think there are significantly over 1 million pages of magazines that are in the Magcast system.
Yeah,
it's a gigantic number.
It's a gigantic number. And that's really one of the things here, is that this is an enterprise scale system. This is not, something, no disrespect intended to Google. It's not a right. It's not a WordPress plugin. It's not running on somebody's computer that's, running in the back of a dorm room. This is something that's dependable. We have about 300 different nodes of content distribution around the world. We'll share that stuff in a second. Let's look at some success stories. We want to talk about 4 different niches. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship, art, consulting, and the enthusiast consumer space. In entrepreneurship, this individual started their publication as a solopreneur. They've got offices in Australia and New York, a staff of about 50 folks. It is the magazine of record for the young entrepreneur, and really the centerpiece of this growing business empire. In the art category, we have a magazine that was started by a blogger and a working artist, and she brought her spouse in, had their first 5-figure sales month within the first year. They are now upselling subscribers to back-end workshops and really doing well with the publication. Third niche, consulting. This person left a corporate career. They launched this business-focused magazine. They get 4 and 5 figures for cover stories, and they have now started with an insurance company, an entirely different type of business insurance that's never been offered before. They were brought into this with no equity, with no investment, because they publish a magazine in this space.
And because they developed a network within the industry that is unmatched. All of the other players in the industry don't have the broad interaction with every other layer in this ecosystem. But as the magazine of record, that owner, the publisher, he does.
Let's talk about the last broad niche, the enthusiast consumer space. This person retired from their primary career. They upgraded from a blogger to a magazine publisher, grew the subscriber base to the point where they were even selling print, and sold the magazine, sold the business, and then retired fully from everything, and now travels the world. So here are the 4 magazine titles that we're talking about. In entrepreneurship, it's Founder. In art, it's Calligraphy Crush. Consulting is Acquisition Aficionado. And enthusiast consumer space, it's WDW Magazine. So what we tried to show here is that success in magazine publishing atop Magcast is not a one-trick pony. This is not a place where, oh, well, it's a photography magazine, that's why it works. Or, oh, it's a business magazine, that's why it works. We've got magazines all over the place. With this one, for instance, Distinct is for families with kids with dyslexia. Heart and Soil, organic farming. Enterprising Africa, first digital magazine in the entire country of Botswana, rides atop our rails. So let's get down to the offer now. What is up for grabs here today? The first thing are the basics. The basics are 1 magazine title, an Android app, an iOS app, our publisher's preview app, and if you're worried about ongoing expenses from upgrades, updates, that kind of stuff, it is all baked in. So now we get to the good stuff, the bonuses. Here are today's bonuses. Number one is our Magcast Academy. The Academy normally goes for $2,500 a year. This is not some just internet marketing made up number. We have people in the Academy right now that have paid $24.97 to participate. It is super schedule friendly. We meet once a month. It is not tech support. It is not meant to be how to use basics kind of stuff. The premise behind our Magcast Academy is to guide you in the business end of magazine publishing. We want to help you establish yourself as the owner of a media property. All of this starts with a bobsled run. Bobsled run is 5 sessions, also super schedule friendly. Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday. We go through super fast with the idea being, okay, I'm really scared here. This sounds good, but I don't know how to publish a magazine. I don't know anything about this. So we want to get you through that imposter syndrome as fast as possible and help you create your launch foundation and get you there fast. So
Think about it. The Academy is where we instill a publisher's mindset into people who've never perhaps even considered becoming a publisher or let alone starting a magazine.
You want to talk about this? This is one of your, go ahead.
This is 30-day full money back guarantee. Every penny, no questions. Come in, join Magcast. You will go through the onboarding process, which is one-to-one interaction with Kevin or myself as we start working on the best topic, the best plan for you, your goals with a magazine, because everyone's are different. And we structure a plan and an execution path that you can follow while we look over your shoulder and are sitting on the benches as members of your team.
Before we go on, I want to talk about this money back guarantee. Do people actually use it? In the past, let's say, what is this now, July 18th? In the past 6 months and change, whatever the heck it is, a single person in the entire Magcast ecosystem has asked for a refund. So yes, it's there. You have the comfort of knowing it's there. But this is, when you get behind the scenes, I think you're going to agree, this is unlike anything else you've ever seen. I think you've already sort of seen that today. Bonus number 2. This is something I promise you you've never seen anywhere else outside of our company. Your membership is on ice till you publish the first time. That means you can take as long as you need before you start. This takes all of the pressures of life off. We want this to be fun. We want this to be successful for you. And our ironclad guarantee to you is your membership is going to be here and ready for you when you are. So let's
be crystal clear, because during this time, you're working with Magcast. You are working one-on-one with Kevin or myself. You're getting the coaching, you're getting the mentorship, you're getting the direction. This has not started as your technical membership yet.
So let's say here, what's this value to you? That's up for you to figure out and decide, and whatever it may be in terms of your own life, calendar, situation, vacations, all the rest. Let me put it to you this way, because this is such a new concept that it's difficult for people to get their brains wrapped around. Imagine that you have a gym membership and the gym is running a super special. It's a 4th of July special, let's say, and it's a 2-year membership for the price of one. And you go, oh my gosh, I've got all this stuff going on at work. We're going on vacation, I'm not going to be really able to start my gym membership until like Halloween. And I'm just burning all this time at the gym membership. I'd love to do this, but so we take all those pressures off. We say, great. You're not going to be able to actually go live until Halloween, illustratively. Cool, no problem. You're going to have all of the access to the entire facilities of Magcast, all of the ability to come in, create magazine pages, test them, look at them, work with Damien and me and the rest of our team, do everything. And it's only, the clock starts ticking only when you click publish the first time. That's it. So that's a super special thing. Nobody else out there that I've ever seen does anything even remotely like it. Bonus number 3. gosh, I don't know how to put together a magazine. I don't even really know how to make one look right. So we're including that. We're including an entire brand identity package. This is everything from stem to stern in your apps, the icon that shows up on somebody's home screen, the magazine masthead, your splash screen, which is what somebody sees when they tap your icon. And we are also including with our outsourced agency that we work with in the Philippines, the complete custom design and layout of your first issue. This is not some template. This is not something hackneyed where you're choosing between the lesser of three evils. You are working with professional designers. Those, and of
Let me
course,
just
we're
add
going to,
something here, Kevin.
sorry,
I've been partner in multiple advertising and marketing agencies over the years. I've been working with designers for well over 3 decades. And I set out to find the design solution first for us and the magazines that we published. It took me years. It took thousands and thousands of dollars of trial and error. And the agency that we're partnered with now is by far the highest quality, easiest to work with, and best value for money by a factor of 10 that I've ever come across.
and
It's
10
just an
is
exceptional relationship.
10 is underrating their value.
I think so too.
Yeah, because we do so much work with them and we have taught them how to speak Magcast, we have this way that, of course, we're going to impart this wisdom upon you. We have this way of working with them that ends up getting these types of quality coming out. You guys saw these designs. Not all of these are designed by the agency, but these would look at home on the airport newsstand. And that's what we want you to have that comfort in so that you can go forward and go into the world going, yeah, I'm the
So
publisher of this
there is
magazine.
more to this. It's one thing to have the design solution where the work is done and it's a high quality. But in addition to that, you're going to learn how to work with a designer who is remote and still get incredibly high quality work. And that is a skill that you can then use outside of the magazine as well.
It's portable. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know what? One of the things that often comes up for people in this, this sounds great, but ... is this concept of people wanting to push pixels. There ain't no money in pushing pixels.
And by pushing pixels, Kevin's talking about bringing the design in-house or giving it to my cousin's high school aged son or daughter who's quite good at design. That is a recipe for disaster on every level.
So we're taking it off the table. We
Yes.
have the agency to work with that has done certainly tens of thousands of pages of design and layout for our publishers, and they always produce the greatest quality content. Layouts. Really quick concept. How the heck is this going to work? You're going to go to them and say, okay, I love the cover of Vogue. I love the letter from the editor of Us Weekly, and I love the back page, whatever, of Car and Driver. And the designers scratch their head for a while, and they come back and they go like this. And if I'm talking out of turn here, you can say so. More than 9 times in 10, the publisher goes, how the heck did you guys do that? That's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
Or
In
it's
fact,
so
it's
close.
very regular that once you follow, briefing is like scuba diving. There can be a million rules, but there are 3 really critical ones. Get the 3 rules right, and your chances of getting something back that approximates what you're trying to envision yourself go to 9 in 10.
And that's where we're
part
going
of
to help.
what we're
Yeah.
teaching you as we work with you with the designers.
Number 4, something we have absolutely never, ever offered before. We're offering it for the first time ever in this 3-day webinar series. And that is what we're calling the McGulligan. So in golf, there's the take a mulligan. We're calling this the Magulligan for Magcast. What we're going to give you with this is the opportunity, if you feel like I just messed up, I'm months into this. I think I did everything right and I don't like the niche. Things aren't going as expected. Whatever the reason, you get to restart from scratch any point in your first year after you've gone live. So you can be making a number up here. You can be a year in before you go live. Great. You go another year. You say, gosh, this ain't working out. Can I just start over? It will cost you $1. That's it. You can start from scratch, different niche, different name, rebrand, whatever you want to do. So the reason we are doing this is we want to take all of that fear out of the equation of, oh my gosh, I still don't know if I can do this. What if I pick the wrong thing? Well, if you pick the wrong thing, you can start over a Madcast for less than a cup of Starbucks. It's
Yeah,
no problem. We got
that's
your back.
barely a sip of Starbucks.
All right, bonus 5. We're also including the second entire year free. So the premise is that we want to give you a very long runway and drop the overhead. The overhead is going to $4.11 a day, not even counting the extra time that your membership is going to be on ice. So this is one of those things where going back to the is it rational kind of thing. And the $4.11 a day kind of thing, we're at that point where you're in the same sort of territory as web hosting, just for web hosting. Yeah, so okay, it passes the smell test. Okay, so let's look at the big picture of what's being offered today. The basics are a magazine title, one title with an Android app, with an iOS app, our special in-house publishers preview app, the whole point behind which is, gosh, I really want to make sure that I know this looks awesome before I click publish the first time and go live. Well, it's baked in. We have an entire app dedicated to being your sandbox. Last thing in the basics are free app updates, free app upgrades. There's never a point in Madcast land where we're going to come to you and go, oh, iOS 72 just came out. That's going to be another 300. We don't do that. It's baked in. The price is the price.
Nor
So
are you expected to have any technical knowledge about apps, how to build apps, how to fix apps. None of it is required. This is all taken care of in the background by your developer team.
that, by the way, I haven't mentioned this and it does merit mentioning. Our entire team is based in North America. We don't outsource to India. We don't outsource to Ukraine. There's no case where we're going back and forth, batting a table tennis back and forth to some outsourced contractor. And that also means that we pay US wages or North American wages for the people like Damien that are in Canada, and we treat people fair and square. So next, let's get into the bonuses. We talked about the Madcast Academy. It's baked in an entire year, normally $2,500 for that. The brand identity package, the icon, the splash screen, everything, the layout of the first issue, it's all included. That's normally $1,000 by itself. The second year free, that's normally $29.97. The magazine launch blueprint that you're going to get as part of the bobsled run, that's $297 usually. The membership on ICE till you click publish the first time. What is that value to you? What's that worth? Knowing that it's constantly, you're not burning the gas going, oh gosh, but what if this takes me an extra 3 months to get? No problem. You're not burning gas doing that. And lastly, in the parts of our special offer are the McGulligan. You feel like you've gone down the wrong path. You tap it an email to us, you give us a call, you say, hey, I want to start over. We may say, okay, are you sure you want to start over? And it's $1. Whopping buck. There you go. We have never done anything else like it, nor do I know of anybody else out there that is offering anything even remotely like this. So,
And when it starts again, we continue working with you on your magazine just the same.
right.
So it's literally a chance to wipe the slate clean. Let's go again, because you're going to be so much more attuned having gone through the experience. Even if you ended up selecting the wrong niche for you, you're still going to be better prepared when you then move to your real niche.
Okay, let's talk about the fast mover bonuses. There are 2 of them. The first one is a private launch workshop. I have sent in my life over 1 billion emails. That's billion with a B. I don't say that to brag. I say that just for some perspective. What this is going to be is a dozen people max, small group, and we are going to provide starter emails for you. You can keep them, you can dump them, whatever, but it's going to give you that ability to leap 7 or 8 steps down the path where you're not staring at a blank screen going, oh my God, what do I say to these people? One of the main things that you're going to be doing in this course for the fast movers is how I'm going to be helping you find your email voice. And it's one of those things that you look at a Scott Galloway, who's a NYU Stern School of Business professor, or a Perry Marshall, so many of those folks that are really at the top of the game of email content, they have a voice and you can hear it. And that's what we want to be able to help you develop in this fast mover workshop. Last time I did this, it was $1,000 and sold out. Everybody that walked through it came away feeling like they got way more than that in value back. I'm also going to share one more real quick thing in this, and that is if the name Jonathan Mizell means anything to you, you can go look up Jonathan after the fact. Jonathan was the original, the OG of email marketing newsletters. His launched in 1996, and Jonathan and I met in 97. And a lot of the stuff obviously carried forward now to this day, 25 or so years later. He and I are still friends. And this is coming from the sort of this long family tree, if you will, that this isn't just theory. This is the type of stuff that you're going to go, oh, now I understand why these emails work. So that's part of the fast mover bonus. The second one is we're doing exactly one of these. It's going to be a drawing of the first 12 people that register during the webinar. There is one. It is a handcrafted Business Insider release that is going to hit the newswire. It's going to go out to about 300 syndication partners, and we'll have 12 people go into this drawing. One person is going to get access to this.
It will display on Business Insider itself.
Yes, this goes out to Globe and Mail. This goes out to Business Insider. This is a big deal. And your magazine launch, your feature coming up, you get the idea. That's going to be out there in the real world in all of these very heavy hitter publications. So that has, as you might imagine, very real financial cost for us. That's why we're doing one as a fast mover bonus. If you get it, congratulations. We'll work with you. This is not something like everything else, not something that we're expecting you to figure out on your own. So we've got the basics of what's up for grabs this weekend, and we've also taken a look at what the fast mover bonuses are. We're going to open the floor for questions, and Damien, if you want to hand those over or address some of them yourself, I'll put the place to go get this now on the screen.
Sure. Just one comment in general on the bonuses. We've all been in the internet marketing circle for varying degrees and for varying amounts of time, but I'm guessing everyone's been on a webinar where there's a laundry list of super spectacular bonuses valued at $100,000, and it's honestly just fluff and filler and words on a page. The bonuses that we're attaching to the offer today, we spent a long time putting together what can we do that takes everybody that big step closer to the probabilities and the table being tilted in their favor for a change. We're all used to it being the big guys have got all the advantage. Well, the bonuses we put together, we've done all we can to make this as set up for your success as we possibly can. So I just wanted to share that before.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. So many of the things that we attend as webinars, the bonuses are all BS. And every one of these bonuses is aimed specifically at moving you down the path of having the confidence to know that you're doing it right and getting you kicked off the right way, where you're not, oh, they've got 42 hours of replays to watch. and nobody watches them. So that's why there's none of that crap in here. This is actually useful, usable stuff, just like we did demonstrating some of the things with our system and what have you earlier on today. It's not the big yay yay rah rah thing. We're
So
just not those
Jeff,
guys.
Jeff has a question, and he's saying, where do I even start with contacting potential contributors? Like, I would have no idea how to make that initial approach. So maybe you can speak to
Yes,
some of the
good question.
aspects
Thank you.
of the training that come with this.
Yes, so that is one of the first things that we're going to dive into, and this is not a you figure it out on your own. We have specific prompts that we put into various AI engines to help us figure out what the things are that are viable topics. From there, what are the viable types of content that somebody would want within that topic area? Great. Now, who are the folks that are the B and C list players that have already covered those topics? So we go all the way from concept in one session, all the way through concept, now to here are the folks to contact, and here are the email templates to use to get in touch with them. And there's so much behind the scenes of Magcast. Obviously, you guys haven't been exposed to it yet, but there's so much behind the scenes where we get people going, oh, I get it. This isn't like other stuff. I didn't know how to do this, and now I do.
Yes, and AI, I'm glad you brought that up, because AI has burst onto the scene and it's going to be the greatest thing or the worst thing. And everyone's telling you that AI can do everything for you. And anyone who's played around with AI realizes that that is very far from the case. However, we've spent the time, Kevin in particular, so that we can leverage the strengths of AI, which are considerable. They can short track so much of the research and data gathering that, as somebody who's going to be considered an authority in the space that you publish, you need to have this information at your fingertips so that you are aware of who the heavy hitters are, of what trends are impacting your marketplace, and have the data to back it up. Well, guess what? With the right kind of prompts and strategically using AI, which Kevin teaches as a dedicated module in the training, you will be churning out the kind of rich information that honestly would take 3 top-notch college
Researchers.
kids, given 5 pizzas, a flat of beer, and an entire weekend of dedicated work to come back with. It's a phenomenal tool once you know the limitations and how to leverage the strengths. And so when new influencers come into the indie magazine space, we don't sit back with our arms folded and say, no, there's no AI in magazine publishing at Magcast. And that's right. The last thing in the world we would ever recommend is getting any of the AIs to write an article for you. Bad idea for all kinds of reasons. That doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. And there are ways that AI can be your most productive contributor of your team if you know how to use it correctly.
Yeah, and just to give you some perspective on the utility of this, what were we talking about the other day? We said it was something that was about 3 or 4 weeks for somebody that was going part-time to get from point A in their launch to pre-launching. That was, basically the better part of a month. And now through AI, we get folks there in about 90 minutes. And with way higher degree of confidence and higher,
vastly higher quality information.
Yeah, and all of the imposter syndrome and things like that people were feeling like, oh, I've been at this, I'm still not sure if I'm doing it right.
So
It's gone.
AI and
Um,
research, not the sexiest topics out there. So what I'd like to
yes.
what I'd like to finish up with is a couple of stories about the truly unique benefits that come your way when you own your own magazine and it's in a niche where you are active as a participant. This is something that you are participating in already. You plan to be practicing this or doing this activity or researching this topic. It's part of who you are. Once you own the magazine and the space, the doors to opportunity that will open before you will honestly shock you. Kevin's got a
Yeah.
great story
I
again
told it in the
from
I told it
issue
in
number one.
the warm up sequence to this, and it's my story, so I like to share it because it's all real. And the thing of it is that anymore, it's not particularly unique. I mean, it is special, but we hear them so often where somebody gets invited to um, something like an affiliate summit west where there's thousands of people in attendance, and then they get into the keynote thing, and they go from the keynote to the guest dinner, and then the dinner after party, and the after party after, and you go, yeah, that's a great story.
And
And
then you're
then
brought behind the velvet rope where you're introduced to all of the main sponsors of the event.
and
Or
yeah,
yeah,
let me share this with you because this is something that was a real eye opener for a relatively new publisher. So they had been publishing 4 or 5 issues, something like that, and there was an A-lister in their space, and they had been sort of salivating at contacting this A-lister because the A-lister's list was over 120,000 people. And oh my gosh, they are the heavy hitter. We're so nervous about contacting them. What do we do? And worked through a strategy with them, a game plan. And what they ended up finding was so much like that story where Alex ripped the iPad out of my hands, because that blogger, that A-list blogger with over 100K list, they looked at the magazine and went, oh my gosh, a magazine, the magazine of record in our space, wants to feature me, but I'm just a blogger. Meanwhile, the magazine publisher went into that conversation feeling like, but we're new to this, and you've got over 100,000 people on your list. And it was like the two Spider-Man thing meme where the two Spider-Men are pointing at each other, going, "Oh, you're the thing. Oh, you're the best." So my own quick story, recapping from the email, was this was a couple of minutes ago, shall we say, our first magazine issue ever. I am a longtime aviation enthusiast. I have up on my bookshelf here, I've got 2 Mustangs behind me. This poster on one of these sides is a Mustang poster. I'm a huge warbird enthusiast, and wandered down to the ground floor of the cafeteria where my office building was getting some coffee one day. There's this tiny ad. I mean, it is like the size of a postage stamp. And the ad is this weekend only, Burbank Airport, P-51D Mustang rides, and it was like $1,500. So immediately run upstairs, call the missus and say, look, this weekend, I she says, oh my gosh, call it an early 40th birthday present. Do whatever you got to do. Get yourself on the plane. I go, there's a comma in the price. This isn't like a $50 thing. She's like, it's not like we can't afford it. Buy the damn ticket. So I called the aviation organization, and the receptionist or what have you says, oh, I'm interested in one of the flights in the Mustang. And she says, I'm so sorry. We sold out in like 9 seconds when we ran that ad in the LA Times. And here's where something just like boop, popped out of my mouth that I wasn't even planning. So I say, I'm so disappointed. That's so sad because I'm a new magazine publisher and I was planning to write about my experience in your Mustang in our inaugural edition. Oh, whole conversation changes. Let me call you right back. In fact, yeah, let me call you right back. She says, hold on, I'll call you right back. So calls me back a few minutes later. She's like, she's just run down the hall. And she says, okay, I've just spoken with the director of our organization. We called the pilot, and they're going to make another flight for you. If you can get to the airport by 7 a.m., they're going to make another flight for you. Nobody else but a magazine publisher was going to be getting that. It wasn't going to be a blogger. It was going to be somebody on a TikTok or YouTube. I got on that flight, that once in a lifetime event, because I was a magazine publisher and I didn't even have our first issue done.
And
Then
we talk
fast,
about different events that you get offers to not only attend, but exhibit, meet the other major players. But we've also had opportunities when you're writing what we call a brand story. Can't go into the full details about that here. We don't have the time, but it's something akin to a product review. Well, it's nothing for some of these product reviews to be $3,000 to $5,000 items, which get bundled in as part of the value exchange. The magazine is going to publish and produce an article, and the brand provides one or two of their products to be utilized, and then the magazine owns them. So I have a high-tech bed topper that is connected to an electronic unit that, believe it or not, can cool the bed down or heat it up. And it all runs off an app on my phone. It's from a company called 8 Sleep. And they were part of a brand story that I worked with one of our members to do for their publication, which focuses on the menopause market. Part of the deal was providing two of these units. One went to the publisher, the other one went to me. Thousands of dollars is the retail price for these units. And this is nothing. These kind of opportunities are offered to you when you're established, but they're they're easy to come by when you understand who to approach, why, and how to do it.
and what the
Again,
dynamic is.
yeah, this is all of the training. When Kevin says the Magcast Academy, the bobsled run, none of the time in those trainings is spent telling you this is where you upload a PDF in Magcast, and this is how you embed a
A
YouTube
video.
video. That's all handled separately. You get a one-on-one orientation on using. But our training time, this is valuable time where we talk about running your business.
It's business stuff. It's not
So what's the
how-tos and FAQ crap.
psychology? What is the psychology that we employ to give a magazine launch the best chance for catching fire? That's all mapped out. What's the psychology of reaching out to a brand and introducing the idea of producing a brand story for them? Well, it's its own set of psychology, and that's all mapped out as well. It's not the equivalent of putting a man on the moon, but it's very difficult, and you make a lot of mistakes until you have the blueprint to follow. Once you've got that, and you've got experienced people in your corner, everything changes.
Yeah, it's, I say in one of the academies, I've said, the best kind of mistake you can learn from is one somebody else has made. And we have been there for more than a decade and seen and done a lot of stuff that has worked, and a lot of stuff that we're not going there ever again.
Now, I
And
just saw
those
the
are the kinds
time.
of pitfalls we help you avoid.
Just saw the time here, Kevin. We're approaching 90 minutes, which is what
We're
our
going to wrap
estimate
up.
was. I've got one more question from Suzanne I think is worth quickly touching on. Suzanne's saying, how do you even know if a niche is a good one or a bad one?
Good question. And this is something that we're going to flesh out in the
In a
bobsled
lot
run
of detail.
in a lot of detail. Yeah, this isn't something that we can cover in 5 seconds here, nor should it even be attempted to follow it. Thank you for the question, Suzanne. The upshot of it is that it's in the academy, it's in the bobsled run, and we're going to give you specific steps to follow that will guide you through in a demo. There's a formula
that is going to give you a very good idea. And ultimately, your gut feel is going to be the final arbiter. You will make a decision based on how all of this feedback and information, how does it feel to you? And usually,
does it pass?
Yeah,
we say, does it pass the smell test? And is it interesting to you?
Right.
Because if it doesn't pass the smell test, like our example earlier with the 10 subscribers, what have you, Doesn't pass the smell test. If it ain't interesting to you, done. Move on. Let's find something else. And
Yeah.
here's the ultimate backstop on this. Even if you choose the wrong thing, Suzanne, you get to take a McGulligan for a staggering $1.
Right.
No big deal. Okay, so we'll just call out some people real quickly here. Joy, Jules, Catherine, Pedro, Steve, Phil, anybody else have questions for us? Now's your chance. Otherwise, we are going to put this one into the history books and encourage you to go take a look at getmagcast.com and become one of the early adopters.
We'd love to see you inside, and thanks very much for your time tonight.
I'll leave you with one final thought, and that is we all have these pivotal moments in our lives. For me, pivotal moments were things like meeting my wife, the day my son was born, the day Damien and I met in that fateful hotel bar at the workshop, the day we published our first magazine. And I hope today is the same kind of pivotal moment for you too. We'll see you inside.